Woohoo, the time has finally arrived. We're going on our spring salamander trip today. There are a few things you need to be aware of as we head out to the vernal pools. First of all, there's three major roles we're going to be doing at the pools. The first are the egg mass seekers. These are the guys that are going to be finding the salamander egg mass clutches and recording how many are there. They will also be identifying the number of masses in each cell, whether those masses of eggs are cloudy, meaning you cannot see the individual eggs in the envelope, or clear, meaning you can, whether those egg masses are free-floating or attached to some plant matter. If they are attached, please don't try and pull them off the plant matter. Just view them and leave them be. And finally, they'll be taking the mass with a spring scale of every fifth free egg mass found. And so each of you in some of your plastic tubs should have a Ziploc bag with holes punched in the bottom so that water can drain out, and a little hole at the top so that you can hook your spring scale into that Ziploc bag to take that mass. So that's what the egg mass seekers will be doing. They also include the linemen that'll be getting everybody arranged in their cells. So everything is linked to a certain cell in the pool. There's also the dissolved oxygen team. These guys are going to be running at least 8 dissolved oxygen samples, 2 groups, so that's 4 samples per group, and there's 3 trials per cell sample, and so you're going to collect 3 water samples per cell. Immediately run those 3 trials, because once you take the water out of the pool, you're starting to change the dissolved oxygen content. And remember, you need to record the temperature of that water each time. So I would record the temperature out in the field, then draw up your water samples, and then get those 3 trials started. Remember, you don't want any of the chemicals going into the vernal pool itself. You have waste containers for that. I would draw those samples from about 3/4 down in the pool, so you don't want a lot of sediment, but you also don't want to be gathering from right at the top of the water, because the egg masses and the macroinvertebrates are towards the bottom. And then you'll repeat that procedure 4 times. The macroinvertebrate team is going to be collecting the leaf litter bags and then finding and recording the macroinvertebrate species. And so you have a data sheet for every cell. Make sure you label the cells and how many species you find there on that sheet. And please don't leave the macroinvertebrates in the distilled water. So you've got a more detailed set of procedures that you'll be taking out in the field, and it says to rinse the leaves off in distilled water. They will die in that water. It doesn't have the nutrients they need, but you'll have pool water in your collection trays where you store them. The dissolved oxygen team really needs to be mindful of liquid and solid waste. So at each individual pool, the teams are going to be working together, but also independently. And so at High Point 2, you have the road, and we've got our grid. And so once you've laid out that grid, there's a flow to the vernal pools, because they are stream-filled vernal pools. And so there's the flow of the pool. And the dissolved oxygen and macroinvertebrate teams will always work with the flow, and the egg mass seekers will always work against the flow. And so at Woodmarsh, that's going to look like this, where you've got the parking lot there, your 2 roads. There's your grid. I've made the pool a lot bigger than it is in this scale. There's the flow of the pool, and so DOT and macro, again, go with the flow. Egg mass seekers go against the flow. At Anchorage, you have a single road with reference on one side and constructed on the other. So at reference, if the flow is this way, again, you've got your dissolved oxygen macro going with, egg mass against, and at constructed, your flow is this way, so your egg mass goes against, and your DOT and macro go with the flow. When we went out in the fall, we had a set of random cells for sampling, and all the highlighted cells are where we left the leaf litter bags. And the dissolved oxygen bags, we've had to reduce our samples some due to time constraints. And so we have 2 at each pool that are if time allows, and so you can see the rest. This is all marked for you on a sheet, but just to show you how I did this, I had random number generators and took out the last 6 samples at every pool, made the 9th and 10th sample identified there. The if time allows sample, I did that for every pool. and came up with this list. And so this is what you'll be looking at. You've got this printed and out at the pools with you on the back of the dissolved oxygen data table, so you should be good to go. Have fun today, but be very careful and try and always write names and your names and cell numbers and pool names on everything. Label everything. Double check your cells. Double check everything. Work together. Be safe. Have fun.